How's it going, YouTube? Coincidence today with another video, and today, guys, so the video is going to be the YCS recap. Join me in talking about how crazy these three events were and how they all panned out. Honestly, seeing one deck win two and get second at the third was pretty wild. We're talking about a lot, what we all saw in the top cuts, and then also some interesting things that you might have missed. Definitely go ahead and check out my sponsors over on Gem, Cloud, Arla, Imperium, Dragonshield, RW, MainPhaze, and Grimoire. Definitely go ahead and check out my coaching down below over on METAFY if you want to get some one-on-one playtesting. Also, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already so we can hit our goal at 30,000 subscribers. Now, without further ado, let's hop right on into the video. So the first thing I have for you today is going to be VSK9, the deck that has been hit into the dirt. This weekend, first place at Dortmund, first place at Guadalajara, second at Richmond, which is kind of insane. Right? And for three tops in one weekend, and not even just like tops, they're just right at the very forefront of the tournament, right? And they were all just like solo VSK9s in the top 8 too. So very cool. The deck itself, definitely one of those things that you got to look out for, right? Like, it's still very, very relevant and very good. The K9 cards are honestly just ridiculous, and they make all the difference. I really do think that the K9 cards were like some of the most broken cards we've seen in a very long time, especially Jokel, right? Now, Jokel's at 1, but it's still in the game, right? So it's still very usable. And 3 chaotic elements, so you're getting to it. The other thing is the fact that the Vanquish deck just has a slew of 5s in it too, so you're always able to make things like Jokel live. This deck also just punishes anyone trying to use hand effects or ones in the graveyard as well. So definitely a very strong deck into the weekend, and I'm not really surprised that it did this well, but I will tell you that I am very surprised that Maliss getting 4 top 8s this weekend with no white binder. Now, this is pretty interesting, but we've seen Cyrus Piles go first and do Heat Soul Turbo in the past, so this is nothing new. But going second, the deck can still just like Cryptor OTK. That's never really been a problem for it. But going first post side, and you're playing 3 Di-Fi, 3 Retsi, Shifter. Like, you're playing all of these cards that just say, we don't need a graveyard, right? And come to find out, that's still pretty good, right? Being able to play under those scenarios. Especially if you're playing a lot of Bestials, you're on like Allures, a lot of hand traps, right? Because you're trying to draw off your Heat Soul. There are a lot of ways that Maliss can still find a way to win right now, which by and large is still a very good way to go about things. And this deck is really a contender, which is nuts. I really didn't know where to put it last time in the tier list because I was like, well, I don't really know like what the deck is going to be able to do without binder. But apparently it's a lot, because now people are slotting in post side the Radiant Typhoon cards, which are allowing you to combo even harder post side to really make sure that you're getting to your engine. Now, side and going first engine cards has always been something that you should strive to do, because post side you're going to be stopped a lot more than not. So having more ways to combo and just put up a full board anyways through interruption has always been the most ideal. Now, Dracotail had multiple top cut appearances this weekend. The Fallen in White Dragon, the level 4 main deck, is now $87 to $90 a copy, which is pretty nuts. And the deck didn't win, which is crazy. Over 3 events, you would think that the most highly anticipated deck could pull off at least 1 win this weekend. Now, multiple top cut appearances is nothing to be mad about, right? Like, the deck did phenomenal, but what attributed to the deck not converting all the way to first, right? And there are multiple things that come into play with this, and the fact that it is the most anticipated deck. So even post side, people are just ready to play against this deck, right? They have multiple outs, they have multiple lines and game knowledge when it comes to trying to deal with this deck, right? So not necessarily surprised that this is going to be something heavily targeted in the sideboard to make sure that you can at least get a win on a match against this deck, right? The other thing is I feel like not enough people actually played like the Magister's cards as well. We saw quite a few, but had I went this weekend, those were also cards that I wanted to add into my Dracotail branded deck, and I feel like they're really strong. and I'm definitely interested to see moving forward which variant becomes the most prevalent, because those cards add a lot to the deck. Yes, you add a couple extra bricks, but it is really strong. But if you want a very consistent winning deck, it's going to be Branded Dracotail. It's going to be the deck that you're going to be able to do anything you want with, realistically. That or Vanquish Little Canine right now. Now, we do see as only engines for the most part is going to be Radiant Typhoon and Yummy. Now, we saw a lot of like the Fiendsmith Yummy, we saw Radiant Yummy, Tri-Brigade Yummy, and then Radiant, we did see a few pure Radiant decks, which was pretty cool, but a lot of it was like Radiant Memento, Radiant Maliss, Radiant Yummy, right? So a lot of the times right now we're only really seeing these decks as engines, but the Radiant deck can actually be a pure deck, whereas like Yummy probably can never be a pure deck again unless we get more than one Snatchy. So definitely very interesting to see, but the power level of these cards has been absolutely phenomenal this format so far, and it's been very fun to watch. These events so far, the last day and a half, has been a fantastic watch. And, you know, that's one thing where when you can see in-depth gameplay at such a high level, it becomes very apparent that the game is getting to a point where you're at more of like a skill-based rather than a luck-based format. Now, in the past, you guys have heard me talk about how much that I dislike very open formats where there's like multiple decks. But like right now, I feel like we're at a point where it's not like a crazy issue to side for like everything, because it doesn't really feel like it's everything, right? Because like everything that is played right now is pretty much like matched together in some way, shape, or form, right? Like if you're playing like Radiant Yummy, or you're playing like the Mitsurugi Fiendsmith or Mitsurugi Yummy, or whatever combination deck you're playing, VS K9, right? There are so many combination decks that there's so many overlapping factors that I feel like siding is at a pretty good pace right now, as far as like going to an event and being like, okay, I have these 15 cards to play. These are for first, these are for second. These can be like first or second card, right? People are playing like Pankratops right now for Di-Fi. That's really common. And if you want an out for Di-Fi, that's a pretty good one. Just because so many people are playing so many different ways to go ahead and just like negate on field. So having something like a Pankratops is really solid. But I feel like we're finally in a very healthy meta that is promoting some very good gameplay. Yeah, there's some locks out there, but they're not as prevalent as you would imagine. So it's definitely a very interesting game to watch and to play right now, which is a very good thing to see. Now for a major pickup, and that's going to be Lunalight. Now, Lunalight did make top 8 this weekend. The deck is still very strong, and Impulse is getting reprinted this week. So that is something that you want to make sure that if you want to pick up a deck that is fairly consistent, fairly budget, and something that you can do very well with, Lunalight could just be your answer. Now, the deck does have a lot of technical play. It's not just activate heavy poly, win the game. There's a lot of different nuances and things that you have to do, and technical play, and knowing your lines through certain interruptions. There's a lot to take in account. There's also a lot of Di-Fi this format. There's a lot of Shifter. There's a lot of Bestials. There's a lot of Bell, right? You want to make sure that you fully understand the deck when you go to pick it up. But I think that if you want a deck that is going to do you very well right now and have some longevity, this is a deck that you'd want to go ahead and pick up because it's doing very well right now, and it's becoming even more budget very soon. Now there's a major uptick in 2 specific hand traps. One is Perulia. Perulia has just become, by and all, like one of the best hand traps in the game again. Now the card did have a drastic drop off for a while, but this card is back. It's a 3-of. You can main it, you can side it. It should be in your deck somewhere. It's a common now too. Make sure that you have Perulia in your deck list. The other one, if you're playing either Dominus card, even if you're not, but like really if you're playing the Dominus cards, play Imperium. The card has been seen all over this weekend, even in decks that it realistically should not be in. So this is a card that is so very strong right now. Targeting Negation is back, and this is a card that you want to make sure is in your deck list. Now, is this card irrelevant? Because we barely saw Forbidden Crown this weekend. I barely heard about it this weekend. I haven't really seen many pieces of gameplay with this in it, which is very interesting considering its price point. I don't think that that means that the card is bad. I do think that the card is very nuanced and maybe a little bit more nuanced than we thought, but this card is very good in its own regard. It just has to find the right deck for itself to be good in. And it's very rare that we see cards like this that are like so strong off the rip that we think it's gonna be like so good, and then it comes out and it's like, you know, like it's okay. It's pretty decent, you know. But Crown is a very interesting card, and I'm definitely interested to see the application of it moving forward, because as of right now, it's not really worth the price point to me after seeing this weekend, because it's like a temporary answer, you know, because it doesn't like exactly out things for you. It just kind of like keeps it, you know. And that's not always necessarily what you want it for. If you enjoyed today's video, definitely go ahead and check out my Twitter, Twitch, Discord, Instagram. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'll catch you all in the next video, and thank you all so much.